Welcome to the Dodger Download, the official podcast of the Fort Dodge Community School District. Each episode brings you the latest updates from our schools, including school board recaps, interviews with educators, staff, and students, plus upcoming events and stories from around the district. Whether you're a parent, student, or community member, stay connected to what's happening in the Dodger Nation. Let's dive into this episode of the Dodger Download.
Welcome to the Dodger Download, the official podcast of Fort Dodge Community School District. I'm Superintendent Josh Porter. In today's episode, I am with Mr. Schaefer, new first-year administrator at Fort Dodge Middle School. So, whether you're a parent, student, or a proud Dodger, we're glad you're here today. I want to start by thanking our sponsor today, Decker Truck Line. The roads changed, and so has trucking. At Decker Truck Line, we move freight with purpose, combining modern equipment, smart technology, and drivers who know their worth. This isn't just about getting there. It's about how you get there and knowing you got a team behind you every mile. Family-owned, forward-thinking, built in Fort Dodge, and running nationwide. Decker Truck Line. Drive smarter, drive Decker. All right, now it's time for board tidbits. So last night we had our normal board meeting. Actually, at 5 o'clock, we had our financial workshop. So that's when Mr. Hansel, our CFO, comes in, gives a presentation to the board, reviews our financials as we are heading and preparing for next year. So a lot of this is a busy time of the year for him and his office as they prepare the books, for the next school year. So we're in negotiation phase. A lot of it's dictated by what's happening down in Des Moines. Yep. SSA is looking like it's going to be 2%. There's a thing called CPI. I wish he was here to be a highly more intelligent response about this, but we're pretty much required to give 3%. So if you can think about that over time, if you only get 2% money, you're required to give your staff 3%. It's a pretty difficult process. So He covered all of our financials, our special ed deficit a little bit, some things we have to address as we move forward for the next few years. So it's a little bit difficult. We've lost some students. Mm-hmm. How do we address some of that, and how do we make personnel decisions that don't impact students? So thought last night's financial workshop was a great opportunity for our board to hear that, give some feedback. Then we went into our regular board session. A couple highlights from last night. Kevin Bailey, our IT director. So Fort Dodge Fiber's kind of, I would say it's new, but it's probably been around 2-3 years now in Fort Dodge. So the district contracts are up with Mediacom, and we went out for bid for new contracts. So a lot of the district is changing over to Fort Dodge Fiber, which makes sense. It's a little faster, probably a little bit more reliable than what we've had in the past. So it's just some upgrades in our technology, some switches at Duncombe Elementary. I'm not so sure I even know what a switch is, but I trust that Kevin knows that the switch is out of date and we're going to replace switches. And then firewall. I know what firewall is because that's what allows our to protect the district a little bit. So I know we have to continue to update our firewall. So I know those things are extremely important. So probably the other big item on there was CMAR. So our bond referendum, we chose a CMR, so construction manager at risk last night. We did some interviews last week. I think I talked about that maybe a little bit in my previous podcast, but last night the board officially approved Jensen Builders as the construction manager at risk for the bond referendum projects at the high school. So now we will start including them in our architectural work, our design work. And the key and the cool part behind that is they will help us make sure we're making sound decisions. So when they get to the construction, hopefully drive down change orders, drive down price. It was nice. We had Jensen and Kalasha, both really good local contractors that have both performed tons of great work in Fort Dodge. But just an opportunity, this time for Jensen going around. Yeah. So, and that is it for board tidbits. All right. So I'm excited for today's episode. We have Mr. Schaefer, who is new to Fort Dodge Community Schools this year, new middle school administrator, assistant principal. So Mr. Schaefer, just tell us about yourself, maybe a little bit of your background, your family.
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time in college bouncing around. I think I ended up going to 5 different colleges, chasing my golf career. And so that's been very helpful in my professional career too.
There you go.
This summer. Yeah, I spent some time in Postville, some time in Storm Lake, and some time at North Polk. I taught majority of the time 3rd grade. Really enjoyed my experience in the elementary. It was kind of the place that I felt at home. I really liked the kids' brain development at that age where they're starting to learn who they are. Really enjoyed math. Teaching math, multiplication and division, basic fractions in 3rd grade.
There you go.
So yeah, that's kind of my past.
So did you always teach? Did you only teach 3rd grade?
I only taught 3rd grade. I did some student teaching in kindergarten.
In kindergarten too. Yeah. Did you find out pretty fast that you maybe didn't want to do kindergarten, or did you?
No, I actually enjoyed kindergarten quite a bit.
Okay.
There was a lot more funny moments in kindergarten. Shoes end up in places you would never expect. Those are fun days.
It's interesting because some people, when they do elementary education, they find out either I definitely do not want to be in a middle school, or they find out I definitely don't want to be a preschool or kindergarten teacher.
Yeah, I always dreamt of being in an elementary setting. Middle school was never on my radar. And I'm really happy with the transition. And middle school has really been just a different style of elementary. There's not a crazy difference between the two.
And so your primary responsibility is 6th grade, right? So you have a team of 3. Someone kind of each takes a grade right now. You're new to Fort Dodge. You're. What maybe brought you here? Tell us a little bit about your family too.
Yeah, so I've been married to my wife for 3 years. We've got 2 kids. Ezekiel, he's 2.5, and Isabella is now 7 months or 7 months and 2 days, right?
Yeah,
we still count.
Oh yeah.
So they're a lot of fun. My wife's family lives here. That was one of the big pushes to come up here with 2 kids. We also felt called to come up here. Being in a school district like Fort Dodge, you have days that are not the same. Fort Dodge School District is a district that we kind of felt like we were called to, brought that home feeling to you. It's kind of weird not being from Fort Dodge. A lot of people say things about Fort Dodge that I've come to found are not at all true. A lot of people have these names for Fort Dodge which are not accurate, which is unfortunate. And I think part of the script of us being here is flipping that and helping people outside of the community see Fort Dodge as this beautiful place. Yeah, and you kind of mentioned your wife's family lives here. But his mother-in-law is Leah Glasgow. But long story short, she grew up in Clarinda, and that's where I spent the first 15 years of my educational career was in Clarinda. So we kind of have a little bit of we chat about Clarinda every once in a while. When we meet or see each other or do something. So, so middle school, you either love or hate middle school. I was a middle school guy. I loved middle school. I like teaching high school too, so I started off teaching high school, went to middle school, but every day is different. We talked about that. So what's a day look like for you when it's not disrupted by something positive or negative? Days like that are days where I just feel like I can get into classrooms and support teachers and students. I tell everybody that if you get 1% better every day, it really adds up. And that's a motto that I've been trying to live by this year. And I think that, we're just over halfway through the year, or a little past halfway through the year. And, we're seeing areas that we can definitely grow in, but we're also seeing some areas where we're like, we've hit the mark there. So, a typical day at the middle school, I'm sure you take some time to clean up any emails, anything that maybe came in the night before. It's nice when you can have an opportunity to get into classes. You're primarily 6th grade, so we've talked about that a little bit. Lunch. So I've been through lunch. Sometimes you go through lunch, and middle school lunches can be crazy. I feel like 6th grade really figured it out this year. I'm not saying that happens every year. I have a son in 7th grade who was in 6th grade last year, who I don't think their group still hasn't figured it out. But how do you get to an environment like that? So I'm pretty impressed with 6th graders at lunch right now. I can't take all the credit for that, right? We have a great group of adults working in the lunchroom for sixth grade. One of the keys, I think, is just the dynamics of who's at each table and being consistent with their expectations in the room. Every day, kids ask us questions, and a lot of times we have to say no. And one of the biggest ways that we have been able to help kids like understand our why is by telling them the why. Like, you can't do this right now because, and that's been helpful to help kids understand the expectation, us being consistent, and that has really helped.
Yeah. So sixth grade's a vulnerable age. I like to use it that way. Middle school, I think, is vulnerable just in general. Yep. Like if you wanted parents to know something, you know, if they have a concern, whether they feel like their kid's being bullied and harassed, or they have a concern with the teacher, what would you encourage them to do? Yeah,
I would say that the best way to address any situation is to come in asking questions. The last thing that I want to do is go in and accuse. I always lead conversations with what's going on instead of I know what's going on. So that's helpful when parents call and say, hey, what do you know about this? And sometimes I go, I don't really know what's going on there, but give me a day. I'll ask some questions. I'll give you a call back. And it's also helpful to follow up with the parents afterwards, even though sometimes you don't feel like you need to. But just keeping that communication line open with the adult at home, because we're a community and we need to work together.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize sometimes there's 250 sixth grade students, roughly. Yep. There's about probably 25, 30 sixth grade staff members. Maybe that might be a little on the high side. So things are going to happen at the middle school that you might not be aware of. And so I do know we have processes in place. And, if you call and ask questions, we'll lead you in the right process, right? We get a lot of heat for bullying and harassment. Middle school's a tough age sometimes. I don't think I can remember a time where someone's called our administrator about bullying and harassment and it hasn't gotten to Roger Porter and it hasn't been investigated. Can you think of a time?
Nope.
I mean, it's not. I mean, it is that simple.
It's pretty fluid.
And he's very thorough, and he's going to explain the whys and what took place. And so, we do encourage, if you're listening and you're a parent of a middle schooler, like call the middle school. Yep. If you don't get a hold of an administrator, get a hold of Roger Porter. Like he's going to look into it and find out and get back to you.
And then from there, we problem solve of what we need to do next to make sure all of our kids are safe and welcomed in our building.
Yeah, and thank you for mentioning that, because I think that's important, right? We don't, whether it's bullying, harassment or not, we still try to put something in place to keep kids safe after the fact. Yep. Because it's a feeling, and I can't control how kids feel, so we try to support that the best we can. Yeah. What would you say, first year administrator, out of the gate, what has been the biggest learning curve for you?
Time management is probably the biggest learning curve that I have been going through. Google Calendar, learning that inside and out has really helped me, and having different people within the building helping me manage my time has been helpful. Sean and Michael have done a great job bringing me on board, helping me out with the ins and outs of the building. That's kind of one of the best time savers that I've had, because there are a lot of things that we do in the administration office. And I always say the least amount of time I can spend in my office a day is a good day. So if I can spend 80% of my day within the pods, it's a good day. Yeah.
That's one thing I can say that is definite, has something that just hasn't changed. So, when I first got here, Mr. Davidson was the middle school principal. We've had a little bit of turnover. Well, Mr. Chastain came in, but we've had some turnover in assistant principals. But the concept of, hey, we're not in our office has never changed. When I walk in there, I should just not even go look in the offices.
It's hard to find us.
No one's ever in there. So usually you guys are in a pod, or you're meeting with somebody, or meeting with a parent, or working with our student support staff. So early on, what has just been probably the most impactful, or what brings you joy so far in this new position? So sometimes it's hard to find joy, because administrators just by position get beat up on a lot, right? Yep. There's teachers that are mad about things. There's kids that are mad about things. other staff members, parents sometimes. You just, the motto, you can't make everybody happy is very true.
Yep.
But what in this early going would you say brings you some joy or it makes you excited about being an administrator at Fort Dodge?
One of the biggest joys that I have every day is simply still being able to work with kids in some capacity.
Yep.
I didn't want to lose that when I got into administration, because kids are why we're here, right? Yep. Another big joy that I have is seeing different staff members develop throughout the year, whether I'm supporting them or Whitney is supporting them or Michael or Sean are supporting them. We're seeing different staff members take different steps to get better in different areas, whether it's curriculum, classroom engagement, just interactions in the hallway. Kids see that. Kids see how we interact with them.
Oh, yeah.
And when we drop the sarcasm and bring up the kindness and the directives, it really helps.
Yeah. If you had more time in your day, what's one thing you would do more of? So I know that your day, my day is ebbs and flows. There can be times where I don't get very distracted, probably very similar to the middle school, but at a middle school, it's hustle and bustle, man. It's from 7:30 when those doors unlock until probably about 3:30, 3:45 when most kids are probably gone. It's hustle and bustle at a middle school. So if you had more time during that day, what would you want to be doing?
If I had more time throughout my day, I would probably want to spend more time with parents, bringing more parents into the building, creating different things that parents can experience as like their own learning within our building would be really cool to plan, develop, implement, do those things. Right now we're spending a lot of time trying to give more time back to teachers. Not everybody's always happy when you're bringing up a new schedule and trying to figure out the kinks in that has been something that would be like, I would like more time to do that.
Or when, hey, someone's sick. I mean, it's the nature of the winter months, right? Yeah. Adults are sick, kids are sick. Well, if an adult's sick and we don't get a sub, we have to ask other teachers to sub. And it almost, it's a gross feeling because you just know like that was their hour or 45 minutes, whatever it was, of maybe some time to work on some things. Well, now we have to have them go cover a class because we just don't have coverage.
Yes.
So, which makes it hard.
And that happens frequently.
Yeah. More often than we want. I feel from a district wide, it's getting a little bit better, but we still have a long ways to go. Yep. So if you have any desire to help out the school and you're staying at home or you just want some part-time jobs, I would encourage you to be a sub and we will help you. Reach out to our HR department. We can get you set up. Like I said, the more subs we have, the more help we have. I just know the smoother our operations run as well.
Yeah.
So we've talked about Mr. Schaefer, the principal. You've talked about your family a little bit. So, you do get a little bit of a break in the summer. You've talked about golf, but what other passions do you have? What do you like to do? Yeah,
well, I guess with golf, my thing that I've always said is after I graduated from college, I think I've golfed 4 times, and one was with you. Yep. And I did pretty good. So.
Yeah, that's right.
Other than that, I used to duck hunt. I love duck hunting. Yep. Right now, I ride my bike. Yeah. Great mountain bike trails here in Fort Dodge. Mr. Reynolds and I were friends outside of school, outside of work, and we go mountain bike riding in the summers. And our kids are at the age where we can start taking them to kind of explore those trails. And even there's a new paved trail that goes up north about 10 miles that I've used with my road bike. That's been pretty nice too. Coming from the metro, there's not as many road trails, but a lot better mountain biking here than there was down near Des Moines.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I don't bike a whole lot. Me and my wife have talked about getting bikes, and because there are tons of trails you can ride your bikes on. And crazy enough, we all live between you, Mr. Reynolds, and I. We live about 2 blocks from each other, which is kind of funny. So, what would you say if you wanted people to know something about Fort Dodge, the community of Fort Dodge schools in general? Like, what would you share as an outsider coming in? What would you share with them? And you kind of talked about some, verbiages and things that people try to say about us sometimes. But what's one thing you would really try to make sure like you hit home about?
Fort Dodge is this community that's full of different groups of people who think differently.
Yep.
I mean, that's the broad idea of Fort Dodge, and people are not afraid to say what they mean,
Yep.
and a lot of people are good at listening, and I think that's one of the keys to a good community is everybody willing to listen to your ideas and then follow through with what you're talking about. So that's kind of one of the biggest thing. Also, Fort Dodge is not a big community, but it's not a small community, but you do get those really, really nice amenities. We've really enjoyed Chick-fil-A.
Yep.
I don't think I could have convinced my wife to come here if they didn't have a Chick-fil-A.
They didn't have a Chick-fil-A. Well, thank you,
Chick-fil-A. We eat Chick-fil-A every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday. I said it at my board meeting last night, but over the weekend, I was talking with my wife about something, and sometimes we take for granted and don't step back and just see how lucky we are. Over this last weekend, for example, Mark Crimmins, a St. Ed's young man, placed at the state wrestling tournament. We had 4 individuals from Fort Dodge place at the state wrestling tournament. We had 7 qualify. Mariah Myers started for the University of Iowa's softball team over the weekend. Tori Bennett also started, hit a grand slam, I think, over the weekend. And then turn around and Jalen Adams is pitching for the University of Arizona. Then you turn around and Drake Isle is wrestling for the University of Iowa against Oklahoma State on a Sunday night. I think I saw an article about Ben Ehlers, who just got a large role. Like, these are all people from Fort Dodge. This happened over like a 3-day span. Like, I don't know how many communities you could go to and live in. I lived in some other communities. We can never say like that. You're talking about multiple kids doing. I mean, that's a pretty cool experience. And I think Fort Dodge needs to really think about like how positive in nature that is. St. Edmunds boys basketball is a game or 2 away from the state tournament. Like that, those are big deals for our community. And I know that's the private school, but overall, like those are really good things that happen in our community. And sometimes we like to think about and highlight all the negative impacts, but there's a lot of really positive things that happen here.
Well, and it takes a lot more energy to focus on positives, right? It's easy to go that negative route. But I think one thing that we don't highlight enough is the extracurricular events that we do provide here at Fort Dodge, even at the middle school. Like, we have so many different exploratories that relate to jobs. Our health area in general is really strong, and kids are begging to be in that class. Wish we could have 2 or 3 more of those classes to support all of our kids and answer those questions of, do I want to go into the health field? But even like, we've got a play coming up, and I'm really excited to go to that. The kids have been working hard on it. So just a lot of cool things, from athletics to drama to band to health to industrial tech, all those things.
Over the weekend, my daughter also had a storm volleyball tournament. So that new pavilion there that, took some criticism up front. There was not a parking spot anywhere. And I know that everybody always wants more parking. To me, there seems like there's already a lot of parking, and there was no parking spots at all. So I think that's just another sign. A lot of teams from out of town, those businesses in that area had to have a really positive weekend of people flowing around and going through things.
I'm sure Scooters and Starbucks got quite a
you have Hy-Vee and you have Chick-fil-A right there. And maybe not on Sunday for Chick-fil-A, but you have Dunham's and you have Maurice's. Like I just Teriyaki Madness. Like those, it has to be a positive to have that much traffic flowing through the area. So once again, we'd like to thank today's sponsor, Decker Truck Line. The roads keep evolving, and so do we. At Decker Truck Line, we deliver with precision, powered by modern equipment, advanced technology, and drivers who take pride in doing it right. It's not just about the miles. It's about efficiency, support, and a company that has your back from dispatch to destination. Family-owned, future-focused, built in Fort Dodge, and moving freight nationwide. Decker Truck Line, drive forward, drive Decker. All right, so as we wrap up today, any final thoughts, things you want to share with us or anybody that's listening out there today? I'm sure all the sixth grade kids, you might project this and make them listen to it, but maybe, anything you'd like to share with them if they all jump on and listen?
No, I just say keep on getting 1% better every day. You know, we don't expect perfection, but we do try to keep on raising that bar every day, and our kids can get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I've enjoyed with Mr. Schaefer so far in the early going, so he's the first year administrator, but really eager to learn. So we've had lots of conversations. We come through, he'll ask questions, whether it's a systematic question or just about, trying to problem solve a question. Usually takes a really positive intent approach. Reminds me a little bit of myself when I was young, and I still try to be super positive, right? I try to find the glass is always, it's never empty, right? It's always half full. So I'm always trying to find the positive side of things. So I appreciate that outlook. I think Fort Dodge needs that. I think kids need that positive role model and positive, affirmation, and I know watching you interact with kids always seems extremely positive in the building.
Yeah, and those are things you either get naturally or you start learning with your mentors. Like I had really good mentors. Amanda Parker was and still is one of my favorite administrators that I learned from. I'm part of the SII mentoring program, and that's been really helpful to bounce ideas off my mentor down in Ankeny.
Well, that wraps up today's episode. Upcoming events, oddly, Tuesday night. So I have my nephew plays for Ankeny Christian.
Okay.
He's not a starter, but he comes off the bench a little bit every once in a while. But they are playing the St. Ed Gales in town.
Right.
I haven't had a chance to watch my nephew play. I haven't had a chance to watch St. Ed's play. So I will go there and I will go support both. And see what happens.
What color are you gonna wear?
I think I'm gonna wear my Dodger colors or neutral colors. That's
love it.
I would love to support. That's gonna be how I'm gonna support both. I'm gonna wear my Dodger colors. So, boys state wrestling just wrapped up. We had 7 individuals go. We had 4 kids. 4 kids place at the state tournament. Riley Brown, Jesse Egley, Doc Sayala, and then Drayshawn Ross is a 4-time state champ. I didn't mention that when I was talking about what happened over the weekend. Fort Dodge just had its second 4-time state champion. Not a small feat. I think only 7 schools in the state of Iowa have had 2 4-time state champs. And then if you watched him on Saturday night, he's just on a whole nother level. And so I'm hoping, and we've talked about it a little bit, but he is hopefully going to be, if he's around, he's going to be my guest on the next podcast.
That'd be fun.
Be interesting just to, he's been a Fort Dodge Dodger his whole career. He's moving on to Okie State. I think that's pretty cool feat for anybody from our community. So boys basketball wrapped up, took a loss at Ankeny Centennial last night to end their season. Girls basketball, his season has ended. So now it's kind of that time. I just saw the email that track season's starting. I think middle school basketball had their last game last night. I'm assuming in about 2 weeks, middle school track will start. It's just one of those things that things just kind of keep flowing and going. But
we've got some pretty good athletes coming through the system in the middle school. It's been fun to see. So I think we've got we're pretty bright right now in athletics, and I think we've got a pretty bright future coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Spring musical, we'll have the middle school musical will be first, and what is the musical?
It's the Oz.
It's the Wizard of Oz. So middle school's doing the Wizard of Oz, and then the high school musical will be later in April. So I'm really excited. Those are 2. If you have a chance to go watch those are the talent in our theater and music department is unbelievable. It's unmatched in my mind, but I may be biased, but I'm from here and I've watched and I've seen other musicals. It's pretty impressive.
And that's one of the things that I was thinking about when we came here too was, my sister has siblings that went here to Fort Dodge and they were athletes and they were in musicals. And when I was in school, you're one or the other, you're getting made fun of. It's really welcoming to be in both. And I was like, man, I wish I could have, not be in a musical, but be a part of theater in some sort.
The hardest part about the spring musical when I was the AD was trying to help navigate all the schedules because we had so many kids that played tennis or track that were also in the musical. and trying to fight for that time and when it was going to work. So that's a wrap on today's episode. I think this is episode 18. So really excited. If you are, again, thanks for joining us, Fort Dodge Schools podcast. Be sure to follow for more stories, updates, board tidbits. Until next time, go Dodgers.
Yeah, go Dodgers.
Thank you for listening to the Dodger Download, your source for all things Fort Dodge schools. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode and share with your friends, family, and fellow Dodgers. For more updates and resources, visit us at fdschools.org or follow the Fort Dodge Community School District on social media. Until next time, keep showing that Dodger pride. This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital. Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market. Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarket.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com. That's digitalagent@spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026. Or visit our website at www.spinmarket.com.